At -50 degrees Celsius, human biology collapses. The moisture in your eyes freezes, and your skin turns necrotic in under 5 minutes of wind exposure. In this environment, nature wants you dead in seconds. But for thousands of years, Inuit tribes thrived in the extreme Arctic. No firewood, no roaring fires, no power grids. They slept comfortably, surrounded by the most lethal element of their ecosystem, ice itself. So how did ancestral engineering turn Earth's greatest thermal threat into a zero-electricity survival shield?
We are tropical animals. From an evolutionary standpoint, we were not designed for the cold. However, the human body is a remarkable thermal engine. At rest, you emit about 100 watts of constant thermal energy. The problem of surviving in the Arctic isn't generating heat, it's preventing it from escaping. Modern systems solve this by burning fossil fuels to pump hot air. The Inuit solved this by manipulating the physics of stagnant air.
To understand the igloo, you have to forget about ice. An igloo isn't made of solid ice blocks, but of snow compacted by intense winds. Material science studies show that this Arctic snow is composed of up to 95% air trapped within its microscopic structure. And air, when prevented from circulating, is one of the best thermal insulators on the planet.
But insulating the shelter was only half the equation. If you exerted any physical effort at -50 degrees Celsius and started sweating inside standard waterproof clothing, that moisture would accumulate on your skin. The moment you stopped moving, the liquid sweat would freeze, turning your own clothes into a deadly conductor of cold. Ancestral engineering extended the physics of stagnant air to the body itself. Inuit garments used a double layer of caribou or seal skin. The inner layer had the fur facing inward, touching the skin to create a microclimate of trapped air, and the outer layer had the fur facing outward to repel the wind.
The garments were loosely cut to allow for a continuous flow of passive ventilation. Excess moisture evaporated before it could liquefy. They were controlling body thermodynamics before they even touched their first snow-cutting tool. They were not building houses, they were building habitable thermoses. But the true genius lies in the geometric design. An igloo is not a perfect hemisphere. If it were, the roof would collapse under its own weight. They use a mathematical shape known as a catenary arch, the same parabolic curve that modern engineering uses in suspension bridges to distribute stress evenly to the base. The internal architecture operates on pure fluid thermodynamics. The igloo is divided into elevation levels. The entrance tunnel is dug below the floor level of the main living area. This creates what engineers call a cold trap. Since physics dictates that cold air is denser and heavier, it flows down the sides of the igloo and sinks directly into the entrance tunnel, exiting the structure. Simultaneously, the warm air, generated by the 100 watts from each human body and sometimes a small seal oil lamp, rises toward the sleeping platform, which is located on the highest level. The result of this geometric arrangement is statistically absurd. Thermodynamic research measuring traditional igloos reveals that while the outside temperature is -45 degrees Celsius, the air near the igloo ceiling can reach up to +16 degrees Celsius. This is a thermal differential of over 60 degrees created with 0 watts of electricity, 0 modern heaters, and using as raw material the exact same snow that would kill them if they were outside. As the inhabitants remained inside the shelter, a fascinating and dangerous physical phenomenon began to occur: vitrification through melting and refreezing. The heat accumulated at the top would melt the most superficial millimetric layer of the internal snow. As this moisture met the intense cold piercing through the snow wall from the outside, the water would instantly refreeze, transforming the porous internal texture into a smooth film of reflective crystalline ice. This thin, glassy layer sealed microfissures against the wind and acted as a thermal mirror, reflecting the body's infrared radiation back to the center of the room. However, this perfect seal created a new fatal risk: suffocation from carbon dioxide buildup and oxygen depletion. The solution was a single, perfectly sized ventilation hole at the top. The physics of convection ensured that the pressure of the hot air rising through the dome pushed the heavy gases out through the hole, while continuously pulling fresh, oxygenated air in through the lower entrance. A passive air exchange system without moving a single mechanical part. What can we conclude? That the practical result of all this applied physics, without a single written calculation, is statistically unbelievable. We measure the progress of civilization by the amount of energy we can extract and burn. Our modern climate solutions often involve brute force against nature. But Inuit survival in the ice desert proves the opposite. They didn't fight the hostile environment. They understood it on a cellular level, enabling a harmonious coexistence in one of the most brutal environments on the planet. What nature-based ancestral technology do you think modern humanity has ignored and should bring back today? Let me know in the comments.
If you seek answers not found in traditional history books, subscribe. The Evolution of Ancestral Life in 2 weekly videos.